All right, let's jump right in. You know, every company has a story to tell, but it's not always in words. Sometimes the real drama, the real story, is hidden right there in the numbers. Today, we're going to put on our detective hats and uncover the financial story of a company called Bodal Chemicals.
So, have you ever opened up a financial report and just seen this? I mean, it's just a wall of numbers, right? A sea of data that feels pretty much impossible to sort through. It's overwhelming. You're probably thinking, how does anyone make sense of all this?
And that is the big question, isn't it? How do you take this and turn it into an actual story? Well, that's exactly what we're about to do. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll see exactly how these numbers tell a really compelling story of change over time. Okay, so before they really get into our detective work, we need to know who the main characters are. In any financial story, there are three numbers that honestly matter more than all the rest. Think of them as the three main subjects on a company's report card. And the logic here? It's actually super simple. First up, you've got revenue. That's just all the money a company brings in from sales. Then you've got expenses, the cost of actually running the business. You take the revenue, subtract the expenses, and whatever's left over, that's your profit. It's the final grade on their report card. Simple as that. All right, let's set the stage for our story. We're going to hop in a time machine and go all the way back to the fiscal year that ended in March 2020. This is going to give us our baseline, a snapshot of Bodal Chemicals in what, as you'll see, was a very, very different time. So, back in 2020, Bodal's story starts out really strong. The company brought in 12.1 billion Indian rupees in revenue. That's a big number. It's a clear sign of a healthy, busy, functioning business. But of course, as they say, it costs money to make money. So to generate all that business, their total expenses came out to 11.1 billion rupees. Pretty standard stuff. So you do the math. Revenue minus expenses, and we're left with the bottom line, a profit of 1.2 billion rupees. The key takeaway here is pretty clear, right? In 2020, Bodal wasn't just getting by, it was absolutely thriving. Now, let's hit the fast forward button. We're jumping ahead 4 years, right up to the most recent data we have, a 6-month period ending in September 2024. And folks, this is where our story takes a major turn. For this 6-month period, the company's revenue was 8.4 billion rupees. Now, you got to remember, this is for half a year, not a full year like before. But even just looking at this figure, you can start to see a very different picture emerging. And here is the absolute crucial point. Just look at this. The total expenses for this same period were 8.5 billion rupees. Wait, did you catch that? For the first time, the company's costs are actually higher than the money it brought in. That is a huge red flag. So, what does that do to the bottom line? Well, the profit before tax has just shriveled. It's shrunk down to only 23 million rupees. Think about that. We've gone from over $1 billion in profit to this. The central question of our story is now staring us right in the face. What on earth happened here? And when you see it visually like this, man, it really tells the whole story, doesn't it? On the left, you've got that massive, towering bar of profit from 2020. And on the right, it's shrunk to just a tiny little sliver in 2024. This chart, this is the heart of the mystery. It's a visual of a dramatic, almost unbelievable shift in the company's fortunes. Okay, so a huge drop in profit is obviously a big deal for the company itself. But what does it actually mean for someone who owns a piece of it? An investor. To really get that, we need to look at one more super important number. And that number is called earnings per share, or just EPS. It's a really, really important metric because it takes the company's total profit and divides it up by all the shares out there. It basically tells an investor, hey, for every single share you own, this is your slice of the profit pie. And the numbers here, wow, they are just stark. In 2020, for every share someone owned, the company made them 8.35 rupees of profit. That's a pretty healthy return. But fast forward to 2024, and that number has absolutely plummeted to just 0.14 rupees. That slice of the pie for each and every investor has gotten incredibly, incredibly thin. So we've followed our main characters, revenue, expenses, and profit. And wow, the plot has taken a serious twist. Let's step back and summarize the story we've just uncovered in this little financial health checkup. Okay, let's put all the pieces together. Back in 2020, Bodal Chemicals looked like a picture of financial health. It was strong, with really significant profits. But by 2024, the story has done a complete 180. With expenses now higher than revenues, profits have been squeezed down to almost nothing, and the result? The return, the value delivered to each shareholder, has basically fallen off a cliff.
And this is where we leave our story for now. See, we've translated the data into a clear narrative, but this isn't really the end. It's actually a beginning. Seeing a change this dramatic, well, it forces us to ask bigger questions. Why have expenses shot up so much? What's going on in their market? So I'll leave you with this. If you were an investor looking at this, what would you ask next? And that right there is the power of letting the numbers tell their story.